All right, guys, welcome to the very first episode of the Fishing Fanatics RodCast. Now, we're not going to have any guests in studio being the first episode, but what we are going to do is going to do a deep dive into how the RodCast was born. So stay tuned. Okay, so this goes back to exactly December 17th of last year when I purchased my brand new bass boat, being a 2024 Tracker Pro Team 175 TXW. After cleaning my garage out, getting all my weight equipment and my heavy bags, my martial arts gear out of the garage, sold that stuff off, bought my boat, got it in the garage. I knew it was going to fit if I fit it diagonally, but I wasn't sure how much room it was actually going to take. So once I bought the boat, got it in the garage and realized, man, I'm taking space up from one corner to the other. I was like, man, I didn't like it. I lost so much of my garage. I'm like, how do I back this boat in nice and straight like I would a car, for instance? And, I got to thinking, I'm like, you know what? I use a general contractor at a commercial building that I work in, that I manage and stuff like that. Let me get some ideas from him and tell him the scenario that I have. And we got to brainstorming and we came up with the great idea of let's knock down the wall that's leading into one of the bedrooms here at my house, which expands. I think we extended the wall back like 22 to 23 inches or something like that to accommodate fitting the boat nice and straight, with having a little bit of room behind the motor with it trimmed down and a little bit of room at the front, the bow of the boat, so I could still maneuver back and forth comfortably without having to open the garage door every time I wanted to go to the other side of the boat or climb across the boat, for instance. Talking to Reed Services, we got this whole idea done. But what ended up happening was we went from extending the wall to a man cave to a full-fledged production studio. So before we continue, this video is sponsored by your very own Reed Services.
Reed Services LLC, a sponsor of Fishing Fanatics, is proud to present our newest remodel. Reed Services LLC made the Fishing Fanatics podcast studio happen. For residential and commercial remodels, renovations, construction, and all other maintenance needs from roots to roof, please reach out to us at 214-5512169 or visit our website at reedservicesgc.com and level up your game.
Okay, so now you know a little bit of the backstory on Reed Services and how they helped me get to where I am today. So let's talk about how the idea of doing like a man cave production studio even came about. So the whole idea of backing my boat in is to accommodate, more space in the garage when the family goes shopping and, they come home. Instead of having to go through the front door, I want them to be able to come through the garage comfortably and the boat not be in the way. So I got that far. Okay, let's get the boat in nice and straight. But now that I have more room in the garage and the boat is in the garage on display, how can I do some recording, for instance, for like product reviews and new bait releases and things like that? So I'm like, okay, well, I want a TV on the wall for one. I want a pegboard on the wall to display some baits and things like that, to showcase like, sponsor agreements and things like that. And the idea just kept going and going and going. So I was losing my mind on how I was going to do this. So in today's day and age, everybody knows what AI is. So I started getting familiar with the app ChatGPT. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to really put this app to the test and see what I can get out of it. So I started taking pictures of my garage, the width when it was all cleaned out. And I'm like, it's all about the right wording in the app. So I'm asking ChatGPT with a picture of my garage, convert my garage into a fishing, paradise, man cave, and explicitly stated in ChatGPT that I want my boat to be backed in nice and straight, giving extra room. I want a TV on the wall. I want a pegboard. I want LED lights, all of this. And it gave me a picture. And I nearly lost my mind because when I saw the picture, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love it. It had the strip lighting on the ceiling, had the TV on the wall. It had my logo as an LED on the wall, on the extended wall, right behind my boat. The pegboard, it accommodated everything that I asked. And I'm like, I'm looking at this photo on ChatGPT and I'm like, how do I make this real? I don't really need to change anything. And so I sat down again with my GC and I was like, what do you think? He's like, man, this picture looks awesome. I was like, is it doable? Can we do it? You think we can make this happen? And he goes, that's what we do, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. So what do we got to do to get started? Well, for one, get the boat out of the way and clean the garage out. So I had to store the boat for a few weeks. Construction started, knocked down the wall. Then we end up finding out that my garage isn't even insulated, no insulation in any of the walls. And I'm like, okay. So, of course, we got the walls opened up. Let's insulate it. So the whole garage now is insulated, including the roll up door. We added a mini split. So now I've got both heat and air. So when it's 100 degrees outside in the summertime, I can sit in here in 70 degrees and film. Same thing when it's temperatures like it is in North Texas right now, where it's like 27 degrees and there's snow and ice all over the roads. I'm in here nice and comfortably. It's 70 degrees in my garage right now with the insulation and the heating unit. It's amazing. Anyways, moving on from that, the idea continued to grow as I was using this whole Chat GPT. I'm like, let's create a man cave. And well, now I'm like, if I'm already in the process of creating a man cave, the garage is going to be insulated. It sounds like I'm going to be in the garage a lot more often than I used to be. So that's when filming became an idea of like, okay, well, I'm going to set up a tripod so I can film like bait reviews and product releases and stuff like that for like American Bait Works behind me, for instance. And that's when the idea was like, well, if I'm going to set up a tripod, I'm in a garage, even if I'm using like a wireless microphone, it's still going to have that echoey effect. So how do I avoid that? Because I'm not trying to film in like a bedroom of the house. And so that's where the brick behind me came into play. So that black brick that you see on the wall behind me is actually acoustic paneling. It's comes in like 12 by 12 sheets. And I think it was like $40 for a pack of 12. So we got like 10 packs and covered the entire wall from one side all the way to the other, around the door frame, all of it. So that helped tremendously. Honestly, it really doesn't matter where you're at in the garage. If you're having a conversation, there's zero echo effect, which is really cool. So moving on from that, we came up with the idea of like, let's do a good backdrop. How do I make a backdrop? Again, I'm not a podcaster. I'm becoming one, but I wasn't before. So I didn't have any experience on like, a set design or a layout or lighting, for instance, and Chat GPT. So I stood on the other side of my garage when it was cleaned out, took a picture of this wall right here and create a podcast set design with lighting, with a couch. Let's add some palm trees. Let's put some LED lights. I want to see what it looks like. And boom, I got the picture and I'm like, holy smokes, this looks amazing. Okay, so I've got my man cave. That's already designed. We're in the works on making that happen. Now I've got a podcast set up. Let's do it. Let's do the whole package. And so it's been a long journey, but we're finally getting there. The garage is, I want to say, probably 98% done. Still got to put the LED, my logo on the wall. That's still being custom designed right now. But for the most part, I got my TV on the wall, got all my tackle, my cabinets, everything. And I'm going to do I want to do like an MTV Cribs video for YouTube and actually do like a thorough walkthrough of my garage. Cause I mean, there's so much and there's only so much here that you can see. You've got all the American Bait Works on display across the shelves. I got my Toro sunglasses up there and my palm trees. I put some lights in there just to add some, accent lighting. Got my refrigerator over there. American Bait Works, thankfully, they sent me a really cool logo, Scum Frog. So I mounted that on the wall. And then over here, you've got Big Daddy Life. They actually sponsored me and sent me these rod racks, which have been amazing. They're exceptional rod racks, especially now on the black wall. I think they look amazing. That American flag really pops. I even got my floor redone. So Lone Star spray foam and epoxy, they came out and actually did the entire floor. So this has really been a project that was not just a month-long thing, because as we were going, the ideas continued to pile up. And it was like, okay, well, now since we're in construction, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do that. And so it just continued to grow. Now I've got, podcasts lighting up, hanging from the ceiling, to microphones and mixers and computers and podcast software and all of stuff that is completely out of my element. But you know what? I went from being a full-fledged martial artist, like I lived, ate, slept martial arts. I was a trainer, manager of a gym, competitive athlete for so long. And, I can't do that anymore. So back in 2018 is when I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to hang up the gloves and I'm going to move on from that and just focus on work and family and stuff like that. But what ended up happening is when I would get out of work, I was losing my mind because I had nothing to do. I was such an active person. And now I come home from work and I might go to the gym and lift weights, but it wasn't the same as training for a fight. And so, yeah, I ended up grabbing an old fishing rod from a closet. And it's funny because I was actually cleaning out my closet, organizing all my boxing and martial arts equipment and Muay Thai pads and stuff like that. And there was an old fishing rod that I had from high school. I think it was just an old cheap spinning rod from like Walmart when I would go out with a friend from high school and do some fishing. So I grabbed that and I was like, I'm going to go to a pond and I'm just going to go fishing because I'm bored. After catching a couple of largemouth bass, I was like, you know what? This is kind of fun. I'm going to go back out and I'm going to do it again. So it really quickly became an addiction because it very fastly replaced martial arts. And then it wasn't until I don't know, I was about a month in and I think it was about a 2.5 pound largemouth bass. It was jumping out of the water and it was giving me a heck of a fight on this little medium light rod that I had. And that was it. From that moment on, I went from man versus man in the ring or in the cage to man versus fish. And I'm like, I took all the passion, all the love that I had for martial arts, the dedication that went into it, and I put it all into fishing. And I'd never even planned on being like a content creator, let alone a podcast host. But it just continued to grow. I was out there and I was catching fish back to back to back. And I started meeting people and I met a buddy of mine, Damien, out there out on the water, actually on kayaks, believe it or not. And I didn't even have a social media page yet for, say, Fishing Fanatics. It wasn't even born yet. I was out there and I was just grinding it out fishing because I was addicted to it. And my buddy Damien at the time was like, what are you doing with all the videos, all the pictures that you take of the fish that you catch? And I'm like, I don't know. I just send them to family, hey, look what I caught. Send a picture to the wife. And I'm like, hey, I caught this one today. And he was like, well, you should really think about doing like a social media page for all the pictures and stuff. Boom, Fishing Fanatics was born. And I created an Instagram account first and then just continued to grow, learning the different editing aspects. Then I got into the video editing to now this. And that has been over the course of, I started doing this, I'd say about 2019 is when I really started to take it more seriously. And then one thing led to another, growing on Instagram, growing on YouTube to now getting brand deals. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got to do something with all of this. And it got to the point where I'm selling my kayak to replace it with a bass boat. And I'm like, my goodness, this thing just keeps on growing. And very thankful, very happy, satisfied. I love it because at least as a fisherman, as an angler, I can take my boat out for many years to come. Whereas being a fighter, you can only do that for so long. I've got many of friends that might watch this video that were all fighters. competitive athletes in the UFC, Legacy Fighting Championship, Bellator, all of those big name promotions. They might watch this right now and totally agree with me. And it takes a toll on your body. I'm 38 years old. You know, my knees hurt, my back will hurt, my shoulder will hurt, my ribs, you name it, it happens. It just comes with the territory. So that's why I decided to, wrap it up in the fighting. And then of course I got bored out of my mind. And then fishing was introduced into my life. And I realized that I actually wasn't that bad at fishing. I learned very quickly. And that's something that I learned from martial arts is as a martial artist, you're never the best. You will never be the best of the best because it's a never ending learning experience. You can be the world champion in say Muay Thai, but still learn something new every time you put the gloves on and step in the ring. The same concept goes for fishing. You could be the world champion of the Bassmaster Classic 5 years running, but go out with anybody the very next day and learn something new. So you're never the best at anything. Everything can be learned and you grow with it. So my plan here as the Fishing Fanatics RodCast, I would consider myself a micro content creator at this point. I'm not a pro fisherman, I'm not a pro angler, I'm not a tournament angler. I might get into some tournaments here relatively soon, but we're working on that. I'm still learning. I'm still learning all the concepts of different style of fishing, So my goal is as a micro content creator is I know how much work that I have put into this. It's been exponentially. The hours that I've put into, using CapCut and video editing and all the different styles of video editing. I mean, my goodness, if you go back to the OG days of when I started, promoting Fishing Fanatics on Instagram, recording from my cell phone and the editing on that, oh my gosh, but you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And I learned to the point where now I have all DJI equipment, wireless microphones and mounts and you name it, I've got it now. To now having a full-fledged podcast studio in my garage. So you start somewhere, and if you keep grinding, you'll get somewhere. And that's my goal. So my goal here also is to help other content creators, like-minded content creators. I'm talking the guys that go out there day in and day out, and they fish and fish and fish, editing content. They're promoting that content. They put it on YouTube. They put it on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. And I want them to have a platform. I want you to have a platform that I can get you on here, do a quick interview. You can introduce yourself. I know a couple of guys out there in Florida that are killing it right now. I mean, they've been killing it for months. Ever since I met them through Instagram, I follow them now. They follow me. And I'm just like, my goodness, these guys, they are out there dogging it. And those are the kind of people that I want to give them the opportunity to say, hey, this is who I am. This is where I'm from. If you like what you see, give me a follow. So that is what I plan this Fishing Fanatics RodCast to be. I want to give people, like-minded anglers, an opportunity to showcase and speak about themselves and introduce themselves to, all my followers. And hopefully we can get more followers and I grow and they grow and we all grow together because that's what it's about. Now, the fishing community is very small, but very big at the same time. So it's all about helping each other. And that's what this RodCast is going to be about. We'll do some interviews. We'll do some, bait reveals. I've got some really cool new baits from American Bait Works that are out and going to be coming out that I'm also going to use this platform to promote and showcase those baits and stuff like that. So hang in there. I really appreciate everybody supporting me thus far. It has been quite the journey between all the construction and then, I'm a full-time employee, man. I've got a full-time job. I don't do Fishing Fanatics full-time. So that's another challenge point right there is I could be out there doing a 10 to 12 hour day at work. I might be able to squeeze in a fishing session, but we all know as content creators, the editing portion of it, that's all, you could spend 6 hours editing a 3 minute long video, depending on the, how depth and detail you want to edit, of course. I've got some videos out there are 90 seconds long that took me 4 hours. So we're getting there. Hopefully the RodCast will help some other people, bring some people together. And it's just another platform to have fun. That's what this is all about is, fishing is fun. So if you like what you see and you want to see more, please like, subscribe. This is going to be long format content on my YouTube. And, all the shorts and stuff will be uploaded to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of that. Instagram will have its own Fishing Fanatics RodCast. So I appreciate everybody following me this far. Thank you. There will be more soon. We're going to have some interviews coming in. I've got a couple of key name guys that I'm going to be hitting up here soon, and we're going to have them on the show. So thank you. Stay tuned to the next episode. Fishing Fanatics is out.